Hello, catastrophic failure listeners. Jessica Marshall here. Larry Rulison and I are back, slightly sooner than we planned. We are still going to do that episode that we promised about the lives and the legacy of the limo crash victims. That is coming. But right now, we're here with an update. When we left off in the last episode, Prestige limo operator Nauman Hussain was awaiting a decision on his appeal. He was looking to overturn his 2023 conviction on 20 counts of second-degree manslaughter. His appeal was argued in early September. Almost exactly 2 months later, there's a ruling. Nauman Hussain's appeal was denied. Not merely denied, though, decisively denied. All 5 New York State Supreme Court justices who heard the case firmly agreed. There was no dissent. The conviction stands. What does that mean for Nauman Hussain? Well, it means he doesn't really have any more legal options. His only remaining move would be to ask the state's top court to take his case. To avoid confusion here, the High Court in New York is not called the Supreme Court. It's actually the 7-member Court of Appeals. Larry Rulison studied the appeal. He says, given the appellate division's ruling, it's unlikely that the Court of Appeals would take the case.
He has to petition the court to even hear the case. He can't just get an automatic appeal like he got from the trial court to the appellate division based on what the lower appeals court wrote. I mean, there's no openings there. There's nothing to overturn. It was a unanimous decision. If there had been a dissenting judge who wrote a dissenting opinion that explained how he might extricate himself from his guilty plea or from his conviction and sentencing, it would be laid out in there, but it's not. It's very tight. It's like I told my editor, it's like a box that he's never going to get to open.
So 34-year-old Nauman Hussain remains in prison. He's on year 2 of a 5 to 15-year sentence. He's currently at the maximum security Attica Correctional Facility. That's about 35 miles outside of Buffalo. He's eligible for parole in May of 2028. And according to his father, Shahid Hussain, Nauman's battling advanced stage lung cancer. While the result of the appeal was a unanimous decision, there's one more thing to note about it.
You know, the main issue was did Judge Peter Lynch give, Nauman enough time back in 2022 to decide if he wanted to go to trial or not?
Quick refresher. Larry here is talking about the reversal of Nauman Hussain's no-jail plea deal in 2022. When Judge Peter Lynch took over the case, he shocked the courtroom by tossing that plea deal out. And then he gave Nauman and his attorneys 20 minutes to decide whether they wanted to accept a plea deal with up to 4 years of jail time or take their chances at trial. They obviously chose a trial on the hope that he could be acquitted, but as you know, he was not. Nauman Hussain was ultimately convicted of a higher charge, second-degree manslaughter. His appeal lawyer, Stephen Sharp, argued in September that 20 minutes had not been enough time to make an informed decision. Here's Sharp outside the courtroom after arguing the appeal.
So I think with passage of time, to be able to actually confer with his attorneys, his lead attorney at the time, and understand the legal issues involved, that it would have been different.
The remarkable thing here is that the appellate judges actually kind of agreed with that. In the opinion, they kind of slapped trial judge Peter Lynch on the wrist. They said his demand for a decision in 20 minutes was, quote, improvident. That's fancy legal speak for thoughtless.
The court, even though they said that, Judge Lynch totally abused his discretion and power by doing that. They didn't say it was something that could be challenged. It wasn't enough. And I keep going back to the end of the order where they just say, it's too many deaths here.
Too many deaths. In the end, that's what it came down to. Before we let you go, here's Times Union Editor-in-Chief Casey Seiler reading the final words of the opinion that upheld Nauman Hussain's conviction.
Although we are cognizant of defendant's limited criminal history and his general compliance with probation, the underlying tragedy cannot be discounted. 20 people lost their lives because defendant did not wish to inspect, maintain, or repair the subject limousine. The sentence imposed is not unduly harsh or severe, but instead reflects the grievous harm caused by defendant's recklessness and his callousness.
We'll be back in a few weeks with a bonus episode of Catastrophic Failure. In the meantime, if you have questions or thoughts about this story, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@timesunion.com.